Let's talk about 3 ways to lower the temperature in your greenhouse on those hot summer days. If it's 95 degrees outside, underneath the greenhouse plastic, it's going to be way hotter. And we know that many areas are getting well above 100 for several days in a row. So let's talk about it. But first I want to say this. If you're in an area that gets super hot for long periods of time, you may actually want to consider a shade house rather than a greenhouse. Or at least possibly alternate between the two. Now, briefly, a shade house does not have greenhouse plastic. It just has shade cloth. And so it's not going to trap the air inside and get hotter and hotter and hotter. And you'll be able to probably grow more and your plants are probably going to be healthier. So I would recommend doing some searching on that and see what you think. Now I'm going to talk about 3 things that helps lower the temperature in your greenhouse. And while I'm talking specifically about my experience with a cattle panel greenhouse, which is similar to a hoop house, these do apply for all types of greenhouses. Now the first and foremost is to add shade. And I have another video that talks all about the different types of shade, whether you're looking at burlap or fabric or commercial shade cloth and the color, and it goes into all of the details of that. But you will likely need some sort of shade over your plants. Now, think of this as a way to give your greenhouse some personality if that's important to you and create an aesthetic. So I love the burlap in mine. I originally ordered it because it was inexpensive. I did not know that I would love the way that it looks, but I do. It makes it feel cozy and it makes it feel charming. Shade cloth will lower the temperature in your greenhouse, often by 10 degrees, sometimes more. I'm only going on my own experience and what I've read other people say. Now, depending on whether you choose burlap or lace or commercial shade cloth, they're all going to allow different amounts of light through. And it really depends on what you're growing as to how much light you need. So the burlap works well. It lets about 50% of the light through, which is really enough for quite a few flowers and vegetables and other plants. If you're growing something like tomatoes, you might need a little bit more sun. If you're growing something like orchids or ferns, then you might need a little bit less sun. So watch that other video that goes into that a little bit more in depth. Now the second way to lower the temperature in your greenhouse is to have good ventilation. As that hot air heats up, we really want to push it out and let it escape. So hot air rises, and glass or polycarbonate greenhouses have roof vents that allow that to escape out the top, which is ideal. With cattle panel greenhouses and polytunnel greenhouses, we typically don't have a roof vent. So here are some ways to ventilate these types of greenhouses. You really want to have 2 openings, one on each end. So whether that is 2 doors or 1 door and then a large window on the other end, you really want to be able to get a cross breeze going. If your greenhouse is similar to mine and on the ends you have some panels and it's made of wood, mine is covered in plastic, but you could easily remove that plastic and put in some screens and then cover it with plastic in the winter if that's what you do. But you could put in some more screens there that allows for some extra airflow. Similarly, if you have space above your door frame where it's up nice and high, you could take the plastic out there and then put screen in. So another thing that you can do with a cattle panel greenhouse is roll up the sides of the plastic during the summer. Now with mine, when I built it, I left about an inch gap in between my 1x6 boards specifically for this purpose, to let a little bit of air get in and out during the summer. So I roll up the plastic on the slides, I clip it, and I just leave it that way all summer. I don't roll it up and down each day, roll it up in the spring, and then I roll it back down in the fall. Now another thing that you can do, which I have not done but I would love to experiment one of these days, is to install a solar powered exhaust fan. So some of these are made specifically for chicken coops and greenhouses and other outdoor sheds. And the ideal place to mount it would be above the door frame since it's nice and high. Now the third way to lower the temperature in your greenhouse is to use a fan. And this is probably one of the easiest and most effective ways to lower the temperature. Once you've got ventilation on either ends and possibly on the sides, you can use that fan to push that hot air out and keep the air circulating, keep your plants healthy, and bring that temperature down. If you live in a humid environment like I do, the air can get damp between your plants and you don't want that, as that promotes rot and mold, and it's not a good situation. Damp conditions also attract slugs and gnats, and nobody wants that. So just be sure when you're purchasing a fan that you get one that is rated for outdoor use. They are a little bit pricier than regular fans, but they will last longer and they will be safer. So with mine, all of the electrical components are sealed inside the housing so that there's not a chance of them getting wet. And of course, be sure to run it on an outdoor rated extension cord. Most of the outdoor fans can be mounted on a wall or set on a surface. Mine is simply sitting on my potting bench in the corner of my greenhouse. I purchased a 14-inch, again my greenhouse is 8 by 12, and that seems to do a good job of moving the air around. There are quite a few days when I turn that fan on in the morning and I don't turn it off until the end of the day when I go in maybe 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and I just let it run all day. I do have my extension cord plugged into a smart outlet in my garage, which is nice because I can control that outlet and the fan from my smartphone. So, 3 good ways to lower the temperature in your greenhouse is shade, ventilation, and a circulating fan. I hope that helps.